without any further ado, we're going to be joined by our third guest of the evening. She is King of the Cage Atomweight, Jayme Hinshaw. Jayme is slated to return to action July 8th against Kelly the Submachine Gun Vilarino. I believe that's how you pronounce it. How are we feeling tonight, Jayme?
Oh, we're doing good. And you?
Oh, I don't, I've had a rough week. I'm going to be honest with you, but I'm getting through it. Last day of the week, new week, new horizon. I'm also being joined with my co-host for the evening, Mr. George Kennebrew. George, Jayme Hinshaw. George.
Jayme, how you
Hi.
doing this evening?
I'm doing great. And you?
Great. I'm doing all right. I'm having fun here with Mr. Reichel. Had some very interesting interviews already, and I'm pretty sure that you're going to add your own little flavor and spice to the cage side submission. So I'm very interested to hear the thoughts on your fight and just learning a little bit more about you. So, let's have some fun.
Absolutely.
All right.
So what do you? I got to ask you, Jayme, right off the bat. Did you catch Bellator last night?
I caught a little bit of some fights. No, actually, it was LFA the other night. I've been working long shifts and stuff, so whenever I get home, I'm just ready to crash out right now.
I hear that.
I don't think I caught the Bellator.
You're one of the many fighters who pull double duty there. A lot of fighters haven't gotten to the point where being a cage fighter is their only job. You got to do something to continue to bring the bread in until you become the next the next big star, I guess. So,
Yeah, I have a little one and everything. You gotta do what you gotta do to keep that food on the table for her. So,
There you go. That's what it's all about.
Right?
Absolutely. Yep. So you were watching LFA. So we were already talking with Andrea about this. So what did you think of Colby?
Oh, I'm not really good with names. I'm more
Colby
with
Northcutt.
Oh yes. I actually seen that. I was actually expecting a lot better from her, but you could tell her upbringing, the Taekwondo. She's that type of fighter. Oh.
Yeah, it's one of the things you kind of expected with what we've seen out of Sage in his time with RFA and then with and then in the UFC, you kind of expected that karate background, and apparently the grappling deficiency unfortunately is running in the family for the time being. Like I said, you see a lot of people on social media have already been bagging on her. Andrew said it looks like Colby have shut down on her social media accounts because of, obviously how people get on social media. Once you lose a fight, they like to tear you to bits until you can't be ripped open anymore.
Yeah, and it I don't like really seeing people bag on fighters. It's a hard job, and it's hard. A lot of these people, they don't really understand. They're like, oh, it's just fighting. It's so easy, and it's not. You know what I mean? And if you're in the game, sooner or later you're gonna end up losing. It's just part of the game, and it's nothing to be really talked down to a person about. You know what I mean? Or make them feel bad about losing. You know what I mean? It's a part of the game. But yeah, I think she did pretty good.
The best analogy I've ever heard about kind of losing on that level, it was Forrest, and I'm not going to repeat the exact word. He's like losing in front of thousands of people, all your friends, is equivalent to sucking a bag of whats. But
yeah.
I digress. It's That's why I love Forrest. He's just bluntly honest. That's a lot of people like make fun. He wasn't a real champion because he never defended his title, but the guy was always entertaining. He always told you what was on his mind. If he thought his performance was crappy, he'd let you know. He'd be the first to let you know. It's one of the things that I really I really dig Forrest, and it might have been not the right analogy to say, but it gets to the point. You already feel like crap because you lost, and then you pick up your phone and your phone's exploded because you have these freaking trolls that have nothing better to do than tell how much you suck and how you need to do this and how you need to do that. It's not like I said. As much as I love the positive parts of social media, the negative parts sometimes just make it really rough for some fighters.
Yeah, and it's like we're already our worst critics and our biggest, critics. So when we lose a fight, we're already sitting there analyzing it like, oh, I could have done better. I should have done this or I should have done that. You know what I mean? And we're sitting there fighting ourselves, and that just – it kind of sucks to see them, like, kind of kicking someone when they're down. And honestly, I think losses aren't always really that bad. A lot of people, they learn more sometimes from their losses than their wins, because when you lose, you get to see your flaws in your game, and you're like, okay, this is I need to work on. When you're winning, you don't really see your flaws because you're like, well, I did great. I'm winning. You know what I mean? I won. There's nothing. If it ain't broke, I'm not going to fix it. So when you lose, you actually get to see, like I said, the holes and the flaws in your game, and you get to work on that. So I think, it sucks losing, but then there's always a positive with everything, a positive and a negative, and the positive is you get to at least get to see what you need to work on. So.
It's
Yeah.
I always say, like we were talking about, how Aaron Pico lost last night, and you're already seeing, I even tweeted out a GIF of kind of a train being derailed, referring to the fight, because a lot of people really didn't give Zach Freeman any chance in that fight, which was kind of odd, but. Whatever. You had a debuter going against a guy who has almost 10 fights. I didn't know how not anyone was really giving this guy a chance. And then when he does his thing, it's like, oh, the hype train derailed. Everyone loves, kicking the guy when they're down. But I still think at the end of the day, within 2 years, Aaron has a skill set to kind of overcome that and eventually, beat a guy like Zach. Eventually get, maybe get that one back. But it's. You're always going to have your haters out there, and people love to kick you weighing down. I just say that a lot of times some of the fighters don't pay attention to it, but also don't forget about it either. When you're having those hard days in training, and you don't want to get up for strength and conditioning, or you're working on cardio today, and it's gonna freaking suck. That's how a lot of these fighters go. Look at some of those posts. I guarantee you're gonna want to get up pretty soon.
Yeah.
We all say, like, we have billboard material from our other fighters. I just think that sometimes those people who really don't like you as a fighter can do just about the same motivation, if not better.
Yeah.
Maybe that person isn't particularly wasn't a fighter, or wasn't a fan of the other fighter you were fighting, but maybe you start searching some of these guys' social media accounts as much as they search yours. Like, okay. You're friends with you like this person, huh? All right, that girl's in my weight class. I'm gonna smash this chick's face in and this guy's face in. Whatever it is to motivate you guys, because I was talking with Andrea. I mean, the hardest thing you guys have to do, I don't believe is fight night. I believe it's the getting down to the weight, being mentally prepared for the fight, but also getting through training camp and getting to the fight is typically harder than actually what happens fight night. And some people say that's a ridiculous statement. Well, I kind of disagree. I've talked to a lot of fighters. I've interviewed a lot of fighters, and I think a lot of fighters will agree. You would rather, have a great camp, and if you lost in the cage that night to a better fighter, I don't think it would really affect you. But as much as if you know that you gave it everything that you had in that cage.
Correct. Like you said, I agree. Usually, the fight camp is the hard part. Going in there and making the weight and fighting, that's the fun part. That's when you get to like really let loose and everything like that. Because on your fight camp, you're sitting there, you're training so hard, and you're having those bad days sometimes, and then you get through it. But like, I just kind of lost my train of thought. Sorry. But like with the training camps, like it's always hard to have, you're always going through a lot of stuff whenever you're in training camp. And like I said, it's the worst part about it is getting through the training camp.
So something we were touching on with Kendall, what's the worst part, the training camp or the weight cut?
I think the training camp, my weight cut, like I try to stay within, not too heavy out, so I'm not, punishing my body even more so. So I think the training camp, it's just sitting there, busting your butt and sitting there, like you said, you're tired, but then you think about your opponent and you're like, oh, she's probably sitting here running laps, you know what I mean, and over you, and she's working so much harder, and so that helps you motivate you to get in there. And like whenever you know you worked hard on your fight camp and you gave it your all, it makes it so much sweeter for that win, or even with that loss, if you lose and you gave it your all, at least well, hey, I gave it my all, and I gave my 100%, and they were the better fighter that night. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's
now,
fight camp. And
now, one of the things I want to talk to you about tonight is, you're in one of the lower weight classes, and a lot of times you see that it's really tough to get fights, or you have fights fall off, or you have fighters who unfortunately are unprofessional and don't make weight, and sometimes that's how it falls off. What are your thoughts? Because I know, like, when you get on, everyone thinks that once you become a professional that type of stuff gets easier, that it doesn't happen as much, but I've seen it happen dozens and dozens of times over promotion. It doesn't matter how big or how small fighters miss weight. We just had a few both for the UFC and Bellator that happened. So it's it doesn't happen just in the higher weight class or the amateur. It happens at all levels. You know what I mean? It's some fighters or whatever, just, I guess you could say they don't have the discipline or whatever, or they get too far away from their fight weight, and it's hard to make the weight, and that's when you see some of these people, missing weight or whatever, and I just think it's unprofessional. We're fighters. I've never missed weight. I don't plan on to. It's our job. That's part of our job. That's what we get paid for, is to make weight. And, like, it's a mental thing, and I think you have to be mentally strong and be disciplined with your diet and everything to make the weight. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to sacrifice that donut or that taco or that burrito or whatever, but it's all worth it in the end whenever you get that feeling of being in that cage, and you know what I mean, and being able to fight, and just that high you get from just being in there. It's awesome. It's so worth it. Like, you look back on it on fight night, and you're like, all that was so worth it. Like, I hated it and everything like that, but it was worth it to feel this. Now, And one of the things I like to ask a lot of fighters, because you seem like you do this sport. You're not doing the sport because you want to be popular or anything like that. You do this because you have an actual love for it. What was the thing that brought you to combat sports? Because it's not for everybody. We're like I said, the last guest we just had on, Kendall. He was talking about his opponent. He's like, he doesn't feel that he's really committed to the sport, and he says he's gonna give him a reason to leave come the 30th. So everyone has their reason on being involved in MMA or combat sports. What's the fuel that fires you to get into the cage?
Well, where my upbringing and where I grew up, that's kind of what we did. We sat there and we fought, and it was entertainment. Either we fought to defend ourselves or we fought to have fun because we were bored. I actually was never in any sports whenever I was a kid. I barely started training almost 5 years ago, and I got into this sport, and I didn't really get into to fight. Like I said, I'm not in it to be popular or anything. I just love to do it. I went in there to support my niece and my daughter, doing the Fit Kids program. I went in there and I was 140 pounds. I needed to lose some weight, so I was like, okay, I'll do this and get into shape and lose some weight. And a couple months later, I was in the boxing ring. Boxing wasn't really my thing, didn't do too well. I went 1-2, and I would get so nervous for that, like right before the fights. And then I turned to MMA, and my first MMA fight, I didn't get the nerves. I got excited, and whenever I was in there, I was excited, and I was like, okay, it's more like a street fight. This is where I belong. This is where I feel happy. And it took on from there.
So it's safe to say you kind of have like the Mike Tyson approach to it. Like you're not the one that gets scared or has the nerves. That is, the closer you get to the cage, the more hype you get, the more excited you get, the more confident you get.
Yeah, like I've talked about it before. There's certain fighters like in the back. There's the nervous ones. There's the sleepy ones that are sitting there taking naps. There's the ones that are hyping themselves up, getting all angry. I'm the one in backstage. I'm sitting there having a good time, smiling, giggling, making jokes. You know what I mean? And then once I hear I'm on deck and it's time for me to fight, that's whenever I get in game mode. You know what I mean? It's focused on that cage, and my eyes are on my opponent, and it does not leave my opponent. That's my prey. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's like a switch, and I'm in there, and we're gonna have fun. You know what I mean? We're gonna go in there and we're gonna fight.
Yeah.
So.
Jamie says she's hunting the gazelles. As soon as that freaking cage door closed, I'm hungry. Feed me.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
That's how you gotta be. That's how you gotta be, man. You gotta have that lion's mentality. Because I mean, that the octagon or the cage is the jungle. You know what I'm saying? And you got all these, hungry animals coming to take your spot. They want what you got. So if you're not coming in there, biting down on your mouthpiece and cracking your knuckles up and getting ready to throw down, then I don't know what you're doing. But that's a good way. That's a good way to be. And I love the way that you're saying about, or I like the way you're saying that about, you keeping yourself calm and composed. You're not psyching yourself out. You're not trying to get overly enthusiastic or whatnot. You're staying even keel. That shows confidence. That shows you're sure of yourself and you know what you're doing. So that way, when your music hits and you make that walk to that cage, you know that you're firmly in control of the moment that you're in. And I think that's the best. I think that's the best advantage you can have over your opponent, because while your opponent is back there, banging her head up against the wall and talking about yes, 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 and all that stuff, you're just out there. It's like, oh, all right, yeah, You go ahead and you do that. I'm just going to be in here waiting on you. And once I see that you've wasted all of your energy, I'm just going to find my opening and I'm going to get the win. So, yeah, that's your loss.
Right.
I mean, there's so much I love about the sport. There's also something like, so much, parts that on both sides of it, both, people who cover it and, people who are involved in it. There's negative parts of it too. You just,
right.
I still think there's just more positive than negative going on in it, and that's why we have the following we do. I still feel that moving forward that MMA will probably be be considered one of the four major sports. As much as hockey has fallen off over the past 10 years, it's kind of leaving the door open for MMA to sneak in, and with everything that's going on with how popular even some of the regional promotions, like we're talking you're fighting for King of the Cage. We're just talking to two LFA fighters, and a lot of stuff that a lot of these promotions have done. They don't just stay in one state anymore like they did back in the day. They travel around a lot, from coast to coast, and we're starting to see more of that from a lot of what people call regional promotions. So it's an exciting time to be involved in the sport. And also, you got to think about it. The amount of fights that we're going to be seeing over the next 2 months is just utterly insane. Not just from the larger promotions. It's just this time of year it's the hotbed for MMA. It's this time of the year, and you have your little your dry spell from about September, October, but right around November to about January picks back up again. It's one of the things I gotta love about MMA. There's never an off season.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
And then, like you said about these promotions, like with King of the Cage, they have shows all over. I've fought for them in Idaho, Minnesota, and different places like that. Here in Albuquerque and Rio Rancho, like you said, they have their promotions everywhere. And sometimes, like you said, these little promotions, you could find some very great talent, and you could see some great fights that some of these little promotions put on, just because, and a lot of people, they don't get to see that or see a lot of these other fighters that are very talented because maybe the looks aren't there, or they're not a part of a big organization and they don't have that big label on it. But sometimes, like I said, I've went to littler shows and I've seen better fights than I've seen sometimes, not to knock it down, but sometimes in some of the UFC cards. You know what I mean? It's like that you see a lot of talent in these little places, and it kind of sucks because they don't really get the limelight or the spotlight that they deserve. Well, hopefully that's
one of the things it's one of the things that drives me nuts about the sport is that there's almost like there's only particular fighters that kind of get pushed over, and there's a lot of fighters, both male and female, that kind of get lost in the shuffle. I mean, in the shuffle, and one of them, is like you look at Ben Askren. May not be the most exciting guy in the cage, but he has everything outside of it. I mean, everything. I know everyone likes to like a bag on him because he, he's a wrestler, but he's also a wrestler who attacks and goes for submissions. Yeah, he's gotten them a lot in one. But he's a guy I feel that should be in these larger promotions, regardless if we're talking about the UFC or even back in Bellator, considering where they're at. You see Michelle Waterson in the UFC. She's somebody who should be getting pushed over, harder. She should be getting the love that Paige Van Zandt's getting, but she doesn't. But I did hear that she's going to be in the the new ESPN body issue coming out this year. So maybe that's a good thing for her, and it's something that she enjoys doing. So we'll see that there's other opportunities outside the UFC that she's getting. But at the end of the day, if you're not getting the love from your promotion, you kind of feel like you're being undervalued, and a lot of times you see some of these fighters move the other organizations. I think letting Rory McDonald go was a bad move, and Bellator is gonna profit from that. The same thing with Matt Mitrione. Matt Mitrione might not have been the greatest fighter in that heavyweight division, but there's things about him that is very marketable. But like I said, UFC's lost, Bellator's gained. I feel like that with a lot of promotions.
Yeah, and it's
King of the Cage might not have the promotional money that the UFC has, but they know which fighters to promote in which areas as well. Like they're not gonna if having the opportunity, they would put you closer to home, knowing that you could probably sell more tickets that way, and they can use you to promote that event a lot more. And even if you're not fighting, a lot of times, a lot of the regional promotions, they have you guys going out and promoting events because you're going to be there supporting either teammates or somebody else. That's where I think a lot of these regional promotions make up for with some of the stuff that the UFC's kind of lost over the years that she had.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, it's not a bad thing. That just means some fans pay attention more than others. I still feel like that there's still a lot of zombies out there that only tune in when that three-letter promotion gets on the board. But they come from somewhere, people, and it's not hard to watch these events. You act like a lot of these promotions that they practically put their fights up for free on Facebook anymore. So it's not hard to. It's not hard to be able to keep up with some of these fighters in these local or regional promotions. It's not like how it used to be, 10 years ago, where social media isn't what it is today. So,
yep.
Yeah, and like with King of the Cage, now they're starting to promote the 105ers and the 115ers, which is awesome. And they're even doing, like you said, the live feed streams on Facebook, where they're doing having us scroll fights and stuff like that, and promoting us, and having it be easier for our friends and our family and our fans to be able to sit there and watch whenever they can't make it to a show. You know what I mean? And them being able to promote us women fighters like that is awesome. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? I'm glad that I'm signed with King of the Cage and with someone that cares about their fighters like that. It means a lot, like you said. Sometimes these bigger things, when they're not promoting you or whatever, you don't really feel the love, and it kind of sucks, you know what I mean? But like with King of the Cage, I've always felt like they valued, their fighters and all of us, and for what they're doing for us women in MMA, I think it's awesome. It's great to be able to have our names put out there.
Yeah, I mean, one other thing I want to touch on before we get ready to wrap up is, we were talking about these lighter weight classes, and seeing what has played out here publicly between Demetrius Johnson and Dana White, basically, threatening to basically do away with the flyweight division. They're saying he's not a draw, he's not this, he's not that. But when you look at a lot of these weight classes from flyweight and down, regardless if we're talking about men's or women, they do have value. So, seeing stuff like that, obviously, the UFC doesn't have an atomweight division, which is your weight class, which is that's fine. But you also see that Invicta has it, and seeing the opportunities that they're getting ready to do. We were talking to Shannon Napa, earlier in the year, and we were talking about, she's gonna be looking into doing Invicta grappling, Invicta boxing. That's real plans that they're trying to do moving forward. You even had Showtime basically reach out to them and not so many words basically said that if they were going to be looking to bring MMA back to Showtime Sports, that Invicta would be the platform, and I think that would be an amazing opportunity. I think it would be a marked upgrade over UFC Fight Pass. As much as I don't have a problem with UFC Fight Pass, I just think that for what Invicta does would be a better platform. Now, is that, moving forward, is that the ultimate goal, or you're perfectly content with continuing to stay with King of the Cage, and if that opportunity kind of arises to have an opportunity to fight for a company like Invicta, then it happens?
I have actually a teammate that's in Invicta, but right now I'm pretty content. Like I said before, King of the Cage, they've always showed me love. They've always appreciated me, and I love working for them. I'm content where I'm at, but I just want to fight and stay busy. So wherever this journey takes me, like it's like a roller coaster ride. You know what I mean? It's fun, and I'm on it, and I'll take it wherever it takes me, as long as I get to fight, and that's all I want to do. Is I want to stay active.
And that's definitely what a lot of fighters do. Now, if you had a number of fights that you'd be able to have for a year, that you could guarantee, like I'll be able to have 3 to 4 fights a year every year. Is that the number that you're looking at, or it depends on health? You might be able to go the Sam Alvey / Cowboy Cerrone way, with being able to have upwards of 5 fights per year. What's your number?
Like I said, if I'm able to, like physically, like being healthy to, every couple months I would love to fight. That would be ideal for me, just to be staying active, and so that would, possibly, like you said, around 4 or 5 fights a year. That would be ideal. That's the ultimate goal. Every time, like, if you go into the gym or whatever after you fight, you're wanting to automatically just, like, get right back in there. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, it's just that high, that feel that you get, that rush. It's just so worth it, and we're always chasing that. You know what I mean? And you get to spar and you get to do your training and everything, but it's different in the cage. You don't get that feeling in the cage like, you do it and practicing in the cage. So as soon as we get back to the gym, like a week after a fight, we're all like itching to get back in there, like, oh, when's our next fight? You know what I mean? We want to fight again. Mm-hmm. So I'm all like, especially with most of my teammates.
The way you think about it is basically fighting is your own personal drug, so to speak.
Yes.
Like I guess it's safe to say that if someone told you if you could only have one, alcohol, being able to go have some drinks and party with your friends, or MMA for the rest of your life, you'd probably choose MMA, right?
Yes. I've actually, I like beer. I like to drink, you know what I mean? But
who doesn't like to have a drink here and there? Let's be honest. If you're an adult, at least every once in a while, you like to go and hang out and have a few drinks. There's nothing wrong with that. But like I said, like if someone told you had a choice, if you had to pick between one or the other, I'm sure that as much as you love to have those beers, if someone told you that you had to pick one, I'm sure MMA would be the one you would pick.
Yeah, and it actually, I've had that happen a lot. Like, friends or family, they would invite me out or be like, hey, do you want to go drink? And then it's like, okay, well, I have practice tomorrow, so no, I'd rather go to practice.
Have you ever had
what I mean?
Now that you mention that, have you ever had somebody basically, make you out to be the bad guy because you didn't want to go out and have drinks with them because you're training for a fight or whatever?
Oh yeah, you get the people that tell, oh come on, don't be a wuss or whatever. Like, it's just a drink or just one or two, and you know what I mean. It's just because they don't understand, you know what I mean, and they're not a part of that lifestyle.
You know what you do to them? you know what you do to them? What I would do is I would turn around and be like, okay, I'm a punk, right? All right, so let's both have some drinks, and then you're gonna come and do practice with me tomorrow.
Right.
And let's see how much of a punk I really am, or whatever expletive word that you want to throw in there, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know, we'll make sure we have some buckets in next to the training mat, so whenever you want to get sick, you know, you're good to go.
Oh, we always have the trash cans next to the mat just because, you know, every once in a while you're working, you're pushing yourself hard, and you hear that puke coming up, and it's like, oh, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a compliment. Like our coaches, whenever they push us and we to the point where we
well,
puke,
no, that's
kind
your
of
coach's compliment. That's your body
yeah.
giving compliment to the coach. He's like,
yeah,
yes, I succeeded.
Yeah,
and then you have to get back on the mat and finish.
Right? Or sometimes you gotta just swallow it and you keep going on with your round. But like it's weird to say, but
so
sometimes
that,
you do that and you're like, oh, I have more than once. But it gives you a sense of pride, kind of like, yeah, I worked out, like I pushed myself that hard and I got through it. You know what I mean? And it's like a accomplishment, I guess you could call it.
Badge of honor in the training room.
Right. Same like with, they say the cauliflower ear and stuff. Hopefully I don't get that. Thankfully I haven't gotten it yet, but a lot of people, they consider that like a trophy. You know what I mean? They're all like, that's my trophy. So you can keep that trophy.
So you're going to be the one as soon as you see me, like, nope, get the syringe now. I got to drain this before it even forms.
Yeah, it's like, Coach, come drain this. I guess it's just a woman thing, you know what I mean? Us girls, we're all like, no, we like our ears looking normal.
Gotcha. So warning the Jayme's training partner, stay away from the ears. That's all I ask, stay away from the ears.
Oh, watch them. That'll be their target now.
Oh yeah, when you sparring now, that's like when you're supposed to be flow sparring, instead of trying to hit you in the body, they're gonna be start tagging the ears up.
They're like, headlock, and just rubbing your ears.
All right, George, anything you wanna add to Jayme before we get ready to wrap it up, bro?
Basically, I just want to say, Jayme, just keep that mindset that you have in terms of, you know, how you approach the sport and how you prepare yourself for competition. You know, I love what you were just saying about, you know, even though it may be a hard decision to come to terms with in terms of having to sacrifice, you know, your social life for your competitive professional life, and being that, you know, this sacrifice that you're making is all for a greater good, and it's leading to a common goal of you know, being one of the best female mixed martial artists out here and eventually becoming a world champion in the process of that. You know, I just want to say, and I just want to encourage you to, you know, just keep going by that same routine and that same regimen that you're going by, and I guarantee you, before you know it, you'll see results, you know, beyond your wildest imagination. So, yeah, just don't change. Stay true to yourself, and, keep kicking ass.
You know it. That's what's one thing I think a lot of fighters get. They don't stay true, and they don't stay humble, and sometimes they lose themselves, and that's one thing I don't want to do. And I've told multiple times to people that I know, it's like, if you ever see me do that, you better knock me down a notch and put me back in my place and don't let me forget where I came from, you know?
Exactly.
There you go. That's what everyone wants to hear right there, Jayme. Trust me. You see a lot of fighters pretending to be somebody who they're not, and kind of who they actually are as a person, what got them there, and they become somebody else, and there's nobody there to tell them that they should be somebody else. But it's pleasant to hear something like that come from you, my friend. It really is.
It is. I agree.
But as we get ready to wrap everything up, Jayme, what we typically do with all our guests is kind of throw the proverbial microphone over you. Anyone you would like to thank, training partners, teammates, shoot out your social media sites, any sponsors you might have, charities you're working with, anything you want to say at all, something about the fight, anything else you want to plug. The time is yours, my friend.
Anyone in the Rio Rancho area and want to come see my fight, come. It's July 8th at the Santa Ana Star Casino, Santa Ana Star Center, sorry. Come out, watch me. If not, catch it on Facebook Live on King of the Cage on their page. I want to thank all my supporters, all my fans, everyone that supports me, that has supported me in the past and still continue to. Without you guys, there wouldn't be this sport. Thank you for your continued support. I want to thank my coaches and my teammates, everyone at Fit AHB down in Albuquerque, New Mexico, my team, the New Mexico Wild Bunch. Thank you for everything and helping me prepare for this fight. And all my sponsors and everyone, thank you. Follow me on Twitter, Hinshaw Jayme, and look me up on Facebook and Instagram, Jayme Hinshaw MMA. And that's about it.
Oh, cool. Jayme, it was definitely a pleasure talking to you tonight. As we say to all our guests, best of skill. Hopefully you and Kelly can get out of there injury free, and hopefully we could get a couple more fights out of you this year. And George, any last words before we let Jayme go?
Like I said before, Jayme, just stay true to yourself. Stay true to your routine. Stay disciplined. Keep your feet on the ground. Don't forget where you come from. And I see really big and great things coming your way really, really soon. And that's from the heart.
Thank you.
All right, Jayme. You have a great evening, afternoon.
You too.